president wants agreements now with Colombia, Panama, South Korea approved by Congress before he leaves office. The administration official leading the president's push for free trade is U.S. Trade Representative Ambassador Susan Schwab. She joins me here in Washington, D.C. tonight, and I have, as I would like to tell everybody, Ambassador Schwab is one of the few people in this administration at the top levels, secretary levels, ambassador levels, with the guts to actually push the administration's proposals in the face of those who disagree with it. So I compliment you on both that courage and the directness with which you apply yourself to your job. So welcome.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Free trade, it sucks. And I have been saying that for years. You think it's a panacea for much. Your president does. You want a free trade agreement with Colombia. Why?
Free and fair trade. You look at the strongest, most positive point in the U.S. economy today, it's U.S. exports. 40% of our economic growth last year was attributable to the increase in exports. So here you've got this deal with Colombia that we've negotiated. And you can throw around a lot of aggregate numbers about jobs and trade. We put these together one deal at a time. And this deal, even Lou Dobbs should like. Right now, Colombia gets almost unlimited access to the U.S. market. 92% of what Colombia produces has been coming in here duty-free since 1991. This free trade agreement opens Colombia's market to our exports. And that means Caterpillar tractors. It means John Deere equipment in Illinois. It means Sony televisions out of
Coca-Cola.
It means Sony televisions out of Pennsylvania, apples, poultry, rice.
Wait a minute. Sony televisions out of Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, shipped to Colombia. We have today 8,000 small and medium-sized businesses that ship to Colombia. Right now, they face tariffs up to 35%. And here's the key. If we're going to be competitive vis-a-vis China, for example, those 8,000 small and medium-sized companies are competing with the Chinese for the Colombian market. If this free trade agreement goes through, we have the edge. We are more competitive.
Well, there shouldn't be any doubt about it, because if we have our markets open to 92% of Colombia's exports already, what in the world could China do that would be better than that? This is a $14 trillion economy. And what do we get from, what does Colombia get by allowing us to send our exports into Colombia? Because this is sort of a unique reversal. It's an inverse free trade deal from the typical deals constructed over the course of the years.
Well, it's similar to the agreement that went through the Congress by an overwhelming majority with Peru. It is an example where, because the U.S. has very low import restrictions, as you know, very low tariffs, when we do a deal with a country that has trade preferences like this, or a country that has very high barriers, it makes a huge amount of sense. These are U.S. jobs, U.S. farmers, U.S. small business people. And the reason the Colombians want to do it is they've had these temporary preferences rolled over since 1991. They want to lock it in and have that stability.
What does Congress say right now?
We're waiting to find out. We need Congress to move on this. This is in the U.S. interest, and it's the interest in our economy. I mean, you would need, I assume you would agree, it really is a good deal for American workers and American farmers, by any definition.
What I don't agree is that the overall policy of free trade that's been pursued by this administration, the previous administration, in point of fact, since 1976, is in the interest of the United States. We've run 32 consecutive years of trade deficits. We need to get a handle on what is a sensible trade policy. This nonsense of, as this administration has advanced it, even before you were trade representative, I would say, that Mr. Market is, if Mr. Market's happy, we're all happy. That is such utter nonsense in international trade, in international finance, in our domestic economy. We are going to be paying for those misjudgments for years, and future generations for years, if we don't come to terms with it. Why can we not have a rational, balanced, mutual, reciprocal trade policy?
Well, I think that we do, and if you look at our trade agenda, you look at the president's trade agenda, we're talking about free and fair trade, and we're talking about being tough in terms of enforcing existing trade agreements, whether those are agreements associated with China coming into the WTO.
Why do we have an $800 billion current account deficit?
Well, there are a lot of, as you know, a lot of macroeconomic factors, but when it comes to trade agreements, U.S. exports to those countries where we have free trade agreements have gone up much faster than our exports to the rest of the world. Our trade deficit or surplus with any of these countries, free trade agreement countries, has improved with most of these countries during the course of this administration.
Susan Schwab, thanks for being here, U.S. Trade Representative.
Thanks for the invitation.
Coming up next, why autism is becoming one of the fastest growing diseases in this country, why it is still a mystery. The director of the National Institute of Mental Health joins me for some very important answers. And the state of confusion in the Democratic Party, what Howard Dean is saying tonight about Florida's delegates. What is going on with this guy, Howard Dean? We'll have that story and a lot more. Stay with us.
Liberal, conservative, left, right.
We may not all share the same views, but we all face the same problems.
And we should focus on the issues we have in common.
Far too many Americans' health care and financial security are at risk, but it's not too late.
Go to dividedwefail.org.
And let your voice be heard.
It's time for action and answers.
Together, we can do anything. But divided, we fail.
Go to